Well guys, we did it. We made it to my 300th video. My 100th video was an episode of my old series, Partyville, where the characters had a 100th video party, and everything went horribly wrong. My 200th video was a commentary on how Nick Jr. can improve, which did not age well to be honest. And now, we've reached the 300th video. So, what are we gonna do this time? Well, when I asked you guys for suggestions in a community post, y'all had a lot of ideas. But we can't do all of them in this one video. Or can we? When I read these comments, I realized something. There are a ton of shows I said I'd review, or you guys have been begging me to talk about, but for whatever reason, I never got around to them. Not because I'm lazy or ignoring the comment section, but because there's a lot to say about these shows, and I don't like making long videos. So today, I'm gonna talk about the most requested shows, and give you my brief thoughts on each of them. I'll still give these shows their own dedicated video someday, but you'll just have to be patient. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Sesame Street needs no introduction. We all know what it is. It's the most popular, long-running preschool show of all time. So it's kind of weird that I barely talk about it in these videos. Well, to tell you the truth, I was never really the biggest Sesame Street fan growing up, and I've only just recently gotten into the series. Not to mention, I haven't seen much of the older episodes, so I'm probably the worst person ever to talk about it, but you guys really want me to do it, so why not? After watching some of the more recent seasons on HBO Max, I can safely say that modern Sesame Street is average. Yeah, these newer episodes are honestly kind of boring. From what little I've seen of the old Sesame Street, I gotta say, it was really good. Older episodes had a bit of an edge to it that you wouldn't see in most modern kids shows. My favorite skit was when Kermit the Frog was talking about the letter W, only for it to come to life and start beating the crap out of him for no reason. This was also around the time where they were allowed to say, stupid.
Stupid monster. He doesn't even know that eggs begin with E.
When was the last time you heard a preschool show character casually say the word stupid?
Stupid weed!
Look, I get it, the 60s were very different from today, and I know we don't want young kids to repeat mean words, but come on writers, kids can handle a little edge. Have some guts. All jokes aside, these newer episodes are kind of lame, and there's barely any comedy at all. Isn't that what made Sesame Street so iconic? It managed to make learning fun by being wacky, funny, and somewhat edgy. But with new seasons, I might as well be going to school. Don't get me wrong, it's not all bad, the iconic characters are still the same, and it still has some great music, but overall, these newer seasons are just so lackluster. Okay, I don't really get that many requests to talk about Bubble Guppies, but I did say I'll do it eventually. Plus, I just wanted an excuse to rant on seasons 5 and 6. Before we do though, I wanna make this very clear. I still do like Bubble Guppies, and I still consider it one of the best Nick Jr. shows, but these last 2 seasons are just not good. The show originally ended with season 4 back in 2016, but in 2019, Nickelodeon revived it for 2 new seasons, including a new format, and a new character. We'll talk about her in a bit. Season 5 made huge changes to the show's formula. Instead of having multiple segments taking place in the classroom, the majority of the episodes take place in the recess segments, where the characters would make up their own stories and use their imagination. Gee, that sounds really familiar, where could I've seen that concept before? Yeah, you can tell these seasons tried way too hard to be the new Backyardigans. But do you know what made that show so special? It wasn't just the awesome music, but it was the wholesome vibe. Each Backyardigan had their own distinct personality, and they all brought something new to the table. But the Bubble Guppies crew, they're boring as frick. Sure, there wasn't really much to them in the first 4 seasons, but at least they had some charm to their personalities. But now, they've been reduced to nothing but plot devices. They don't make mistakes that impact the story, they don't learn any lessons, they're just there to serve the plot, and nothing else. And then there's the new girl, Zuli. What kind of name is that anyway? Don't get me wrong, I don't hate her, she's fine overall, but she's just such an unnecessary addition to the cast. And on top of that, she has no personality besides being smart and knowing about animals. If you're going to introduce a new character, give her something to work with. Make her funny, sarcastic, awkward, anything. As is, Zuli doesn't stand out in any way. You could replace her with anyone, and nothing would change. Oh, and trust me, I could go on. I could mention the weak humor, the insanely repetitive plots, or the mind-numbingly stupid villains, if we can even call them that. But we'll cross that broken bridge when we get to it. Super Duper Bunny League is the most recent Nick Jr. show. At least, I think it is. It does air on Nick Jr., but for some reason, it's being advertised as a Nickelodeon show. So, should we even call this a preschool show? Well, either way, I'm sure you guys won't stop asking me to talk about it until I do, so here we go. The show is about 6 bunnies who accidentally get superpowers by an evil villain named Dr. Francis Fuzzleglove. Wow, and I thought Mr. Puppy Paws from Super Kitties had a dumb name. Also, his voice sounds really familiar. Let's see if you can recognize it. I'll play a clip for you.
Look what I invented, Annabelle. A grilled cheese maker. You're right, I am a genius.
Wait a minute, is that Chuck the evil sandwich making guy from Word Girl?
That's right, Word Girl. Now you can stay there and watch my biggest crime ever.
Yeah, I think it is. I knew he sounded familiar. I've only seen a few episodes of this show, but honestly, I like it so far. The show was made by Robert Skull and Johnny Belt. These two are actually really talented creators at Nickelodeon. According to IMDb, they worked on Rocko's Modern Life, Bubble Guppies, heck, even the Backyardigans. And you can really tell that by watching the show. It has a really quirky charm to it that's rare in modern kid shows. Each character has a distinct personality, and this narrator is freaking hilarious.
I am a genius.
But this so-called genius accidentally set the grilled cheese maker to the super duper setting.
Also, I think it's kind of interesting that it's the villain that gave them superpowers, albeit by accident. It opens the door to so many different possibilities, and I hope we get to explore that as the series goes on. Overall, I'm really enjoying the show so far. I still wanna wait until more episodes come out before I make a full review, but from what I've seen, it's a breath of fresh air for Nick Jr. Or, Nickelodeon, whatever.
She's Molly of Denali.
And finally, let's talk about Molly of Denali. I've brought up the show many times, and it's arguably the most requested show for me to review, and I definitely understand why. Other than Word Girl, I consider this one of the best PBS kids shows ever made. Some people may see it as just another bland modern preschool show, but there's way more to this show than meets the eye. I'll try to keep this segment as short as possible, because I still do wanna make a full review someday, but if this video ends up being more than 10 minutes long, you know why. Now, why do I love this show so much? Well, to put it as simply as possible, this show is just really wholesome. The characters don't feel like bland role models, they feel like real people with their own strengths and struggles. Despite having very basic personalities, each character has their own charm, and nearly everyone gets a chance to shine. Also, this is one of the very few animated shows I've seen that doesn't have any fictional elements. There's no talking animals, no magic, no fantasy, just a bunch of regular people living their lives in Alaska. Honestly, if this show was live action, there'd be no difference, but that's not a complaint. If anything, it really adds to the realism of the show. Also, like a lot of modern PBS shows, this one tackles racism, stereotypes, and sexism. It's very easy to screw these up like a lot of shows do, but I like how subtle the morals are, and how it weaves its messages naturally into the story. For example, there's an episode where Molly and Tui meet Trini, a new kid from Texas. To impress her, they dress like cowboys, thinking that's just what Texans do. But Trini also assumes that Alaska is a frozen wasteland full of polar bears. It's a clever, funny way to show how stereotypes go both ways. I could go on, but I'll save the other stuff for the full review when we eventually get to it. But overall, Molly of Denali is a great show, and I totally recommend it. Well, there you have it, the shows that you've always wanted me to talk about. I'd usually make a top 5 list, but I don't want to drag this video out longer than I need to. I have other projects to work on, and I've been really busy for the past few weeks, and I'm honestly just really tired. But, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if there's another show you want me to review, and you won't leave me alone until I do, let me know in the comments. And until next time, party on.